Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 18th episode of the Culture of Splife. If you're joining us live, you can, of course, follow us on Facebook. You can reach out to us on Twitter, TikTok. We're Culture of Splife everywhere you can find us.
Hey, hey.
How is it going? Let's get Rod in here. Looks like we're joining
Yo, yo, yo.
all at the same time.
Yes.
It's simultaneous.
That's it.
Second straight week.
That's it. I brought my Louis, but the Samsonite went out the back door.
Prime time.
Prime time. Prime
time.
Wow. 41 players since he signed on the dotted line.
And you know, we were talking
since Saturday.
Yep. And you know, we were talking about the pregame. And I think we all shared the YouTube when he first got there and made the speech to all the players that were still around, the remaining players. And one of them asked him right after he made the speech about go ahead and jump in the portal. That's literally what he said. That was like one of the first things he said. Y'all go ahead and jump in the portal. And so one of them said, hey, for everybody that decides to hang around, you know, what are the plans there? And he just literally told them, you know, he said, you know, well, everybody that doesn't jump in the portal right now, I mean, my hope is that we make you quit by spring. So so he was a man of his word.
Yeah, what'd you think about that, Marshall?
So do you think this was the intentional loss? Do you think that what he's experiencing right now was the intentional loss, or do you think that it just so happens to be happening now? Because I don't necessarily know that he wants to lose some of these guys.
Well, it's also one of those things too where you know, we're about to start up the second wave of the transfer portal. And so I'm sure that he's probably done some back channel contacting of some other stars all over the place. And so to make some spots for all of those guys, he's got to finish getting rid of these. So I think that's driving it a lot too. So.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Marshall. What's crazy is ESPN picked the Colorado Buffaloes over the LSU Tigers and the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Yeah.
So you either had to have ESPN Plus,
yep,
or wait until yesterday to watch the 8A game for Alabama because
there were a ton of mad
Colorado
fans.
Buffaloes.
Yep.
I mean, keep in mind the team is probably just as bad as it was last year at this point, right? I mean, it's the spring game, but I don't know. Sanders threw a nice little ball, you know, to the guy who, like I told y'all, caught the 98-yard touchdown and kept running through the tunnel like Bo Jackson. So it'll be interesting to see where he ends up. Forrest Gump, yep.
Isn't that the same one that transferred after the game too?
Yeah, that's
That's
what I'm saying.
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah. He had 3 catches for 154 yards and 2 touchdowns, I think.
Yep.
And he gone.
Yep.
You know, one of the quarterbacks transferred too, right? Was it the quarterback that threw it?
No, that's Deion's son.
Oh, okay.
Well, Shador, yeah, he's the starter now. So yeah, I mean, he literally ran. He was running through the portal when he was, you know, going through that tunnel. So
yep.
Best quarterback since Joe Montana.
Oh
no, I mean, or maybe Joe Montana.
I don't know. Have you guys watched the epic spring game down there in Texas? There's the best quarterback since Joe Montana, old Arch Manning, that I pretty much have been saying from the beginning has been overrated. He looked exactly what I expected.
I think we all threw for almost the same amount of yards that he did.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure. I made more completions though. That was
Yeah, that's pretty bad when Sarkisian comes out right after the game and says Quinn Ewers is our quarterback. Whoa, okay. And you paid that man how much to come to Texas?
Yeah, I mean, what are we talking about here? $3 million? Isn't he the highest paid NIL guy right now?
I think so.
Incoming freshman, at
I believe
least.
that's right. Yep.
And I mean, his completion percentage is somewhere along the lines of like milk percentages.
Right. Right. Running that 2%.
That's right. No doubt. Man, oh man. So what else we have? We have little Aaron Rodgers.
It finally happened, didn't it?
Yes, yes. What do you
What's
think about
funny
that, Drew?
about what's funny about the whole thing is, we broke that live, I think, on episode 2. We're on the 18th episode now. That he was getting traded to the Jets, and it finally happened. I mean, I as long as it took for this whole thing to happen, I understand now why the dude's not married, because he's obviously really good at dragging his feet. And he probably also isn't going to get the Jets a ring either. So I think it's just, at the end of the day, a lovely, lovely experience. So what did they trade for? Like a box of Cracker Jacks? I forget. What was it?
Pretty much.
I mean, that's pretty much what it was. What was it? A 13th pick, then what was it? 42nd pick in the second round, and then we're talking about like the 207th pick or so. I think you said, Josh, in the 6th round, and it's based off of a conditional first round pick next year, provided that Rodgers plays at least 65% of the year, which basically amounts to like if he can get through 11 games.
So at the end of the day, was this just about offloading some cap space? Because he was I don't know what his deal looks like, but the second highest paid quarterback in the NFL, if I'm not mistaken. Obviously that was last year, so I don't. That's going to translate differently this year. So I don't know what it does for Green Bay and cap space. I have to imagine that they're gonna have some weapons for quarterback to be named later.
Now that you mentioned that, Drew, that was actually a big part of it. I was reading it. I think it was on ESPN a little bit earlier today, but I think the Jets end up picking up like $59 million of cap space, and Green Bay now just has like $41 million of dead cap space left here now. So that did unload a lot for them.
Speaking of cap space, I know this is kind of jumping, but the Eagles, I read an article today that the Eagles have like $42 million in cap space next year. This year they have 22 of 22 returning starters. Next year they have 14 of 22 with $42 million in cap space. And in 2025, they have $88 million in cap space. So I'd never really understood cap space, but Howie Roseman sure knows how to figure it out.
That's like magic math. He's working.
Seriously.
Yeah, the crazy thing about that, Marshall, we talked about it. We talked about it last week. We know who's eating up the majority of that budget. But what's crazy to think about, not next year, but the next year, you have enough cap space to throw in another person that's equally as high paid. Now, given you're not going to do that logically, right? But you sure can have 5 people that are paid, 1/5 of that are pretty big names, say on defense or, even offense. So they're probably here to stay, assuming, they don't eagle it up, right? Get rid of their coach, give them to Kansas City, something like that.
Snatch defeat from the jaws of victory, the Eagle way.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think Philadelphia is going to turn into one of those teams that players, maybe not towards the end of their career necessarily, but once they have enough money where they just want to win, go play in Philly, because for the next several years, they're going to be a pretty darn good football team. So
here's a question. Are they the new Chiefs? Like, if you look at where the Chiefs are on that timeline in terms of how they produced over, say, the last 5 years, are the Eagles at the beginning of that same pathway that the Chiefs took to be, like, the dominant team right now?
Well, as far as the dollars go, absolutely 100% accurate statement, because Patrick Mahomes was the quarterback that was eating up the most long-term cap space until Jalen Hurts is eating up the most long-term cap space, right? And don't get me wrong, both their contracts are going to end up getting renegotiated. It changes every year. The only other person that held a candle to that was Aaron Rodgers, and his was just all dead weight year after year.
Mm-hmm.
So, he basically was on that old man, I've got to actually play to get paid contract, right? Those old men contracts like Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers has, where they could retire any second and not get anything. These young guys like Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts, they get that guaranteed money, right? Because they're young. Again, renegotiations come later. We're going to be singing a different story. But the difference that I see between the two teams, Philadelphia is not hurting on defense. Kansas City always was, and I feel like Philadelphia is in a better spot, especially if those rumors come true about the running back. Have y'all seen that, where they're looking at Derrick Henry? If he shows up, I just don't see how they don't win a Super
That's
Bowl.
why I'm so amazed at what the Chiefs have done to basically be essentially a mini dynasty. Is they've had a weak defense throughout, but yet they still produce year in and year out. They won 2 championships in 5 years. They got to another championship. The AFC championship game basically is a guarantee every year. And they're able to do this without a defense.
Well, the funny thing was the disaster from last year coming into this year, right? Everybody was saying the Chiefs are done, right? The Chiefs are done. They're last place in their division because they offloaded cap space, right? They needed money for the future. This was their year to get rid of that and to rebuild. And their rebuilding year, they win a Super Bowl.
Yep.
It's the most phenomenal experience. Now, of course, their rivals, Mr. More bathrooms than touchdowns, Wilson himself, was in their division. So, they were projected to win. It was bad projections overall. I'll give anybody that, and Kevin Franz will definitely agree with me that the Chiefs should have never been counted out this year, especially to say it was a rebuilding year, because, you still got Patrick Mahomes at the helm. So, I can see the parallels, and unfortunately for me, not being a fan of either team, that means that the Eagles and the Chiefs are destined to do this for the foreseeable future, right? Over and over again.
Until the Steelers knock the Chiefs off.
Draft a quarterback.
Hey, that's a shout out to Kevin Franz on that one. I'm sure he'll have a comment here in a second.
Oh, I'm sure. Kenny Pickett, next Mahomes. Here we go. With his little hands, with his glove on his hand, he's ready to go.
We probably got a bubble going across there.
Did y'all hear the story about how Kevin, going to be about 12 years, Josh, about how Jalen Hurts got his agent? 34-year-old lady named Nicole Lynn. I think they met at some conference or something, and she just shot in the dark Instagram messaged him and just said, "Hey, do you have an agent?
Wow.
If not, I'd love to link up." And he responded right back, and boom, there it was. And in that same conference, this high-profile agent walked up and said something about, if because I guess he was talking to this girl, and something like, oh, well, if it doesn't work out with Toots, you can call me or something like that. And this was reported by Sports Illustrated. And so crazy. And what's interesting is she went to Alabama. She also went to Oklahoma Law School.
Wow.
And she's also been told forever that women can't be sports agents. So very, very similar to what Jalen Hurts
That's the perfect
has
story.
gone through, you know, being told that he couldn't throw the ball and he couldn't be a quarterback in the NFL. So very interesting.
And I'm sure the fact that she's not very hard on the eyes was probably why he answered that message. I'm just saying. Just throwing that out there. You know, I actually close by, guys. We've got you know, we didn't have much baseball chatter scheduled for tonight, but you know, close by we had the female Jerry Maguire. And if you ever hear her story, the lady in Atlanta, can't think of her name off the top of my head. She represented John Smoltz, Andrew Jones, you know, all those big name Braves players from back in the day. She was the same way, right? Everybody was always ragging her about, you know, like you're never gonna make it in sports as a woman. And she's like, that was just fuel to the fire. So you know, it sucks, right, to have that, but if you use it as motivation, for sure, you know, keep it up, right? Keep it up.
No doubt. Speaking of motivation, Jimmy Buckets. Wow. Talk about a guy who people have never even considered probably in the top 15 in the NBA. Would you say 15?
Yeah, probably
20?
wouldn't consider that. That would be accurate to not consider him that, but he shows up every single playoff. Every one of them.
Yep.
I mean,
and I love the guy, man, because he created the Miami Heat. You know what I mean? The Miami Heat were no good when he decided 4 years ago to go down there. And I love those guys. You know, that's why I like Giannis. Giannis could have signed with some super team, but instead he decided to stay in Milwaukee, you know, the team that gave him a chance. And Jimmy Butler the same way. He could have gone anywhere he wanted after he left Philly. And he chose to go to Miami because that's the type of player that he is. I mean, he's like the perfect fit for the Miami Heat, the way they play
it's
ball.
amazing, like how he's carried them in the playoffs, and it's usually against very tough competition. And see, that's the thing. Like the year they made it in the bubble to the finals, they were 5 seed, and second round, of course, they knocked off the #1 Milwaukee Bucks. Right. And here we are again, and they're on the brink of knocking off the #1 Milwaukee Bucks, and like they were literally minus a minus a 17-1 or whatever it was run in the final elimination game from not even like making it past the play-in.
Right. Exactly. And then I think it was a 17-0 run last night.
Yes.
They were down 12, and then all of a sudden they were up 5. It was unbelievable. I believe it was 101-89. And then it ended up being 106-101 before the Bucks scored. And insane.
Yes.
Jimmy just went
but that's what
nuts.
That's what he does.
I actually picked Jimmy to have under 28.5 points last night.
Yeah, that didn't age at all.
Well, the first time I checked the score,
he didn't quite double it. If that makes you feel any better.
Yeah.
It's funny because you know, I was like, you know, hey, what are we talking about? You know, I've been honest with you guys from the get-go. I don't follow the NBA like you guys do. And you were talking about, you know, nobody expects him. I literally had to Google what the heck you were talking about when you were like, oh, we got to talk about Jimmy Buckets. What is he talking about? You know, because it wasn't even like trending on Twitter or anything. It's like one of the most amazing things that's happened in the playoffs. I'm like, who is doing marketing right now for these NBA teams?
Well,
this would get a guy like me to actually watch. But
you had the fireworks from the Lakers and in Grizzlies last night that kind of took over Twitter.
That
So,
is exactly what was trending on Twitter this morning. That and the Wordle that was very impossible the New York Times created. But yes, you were right. It was the Lakers and the Bucks that were, or the Lakers and the Grizzlies. I'm sorry, that were trending there, and all the associated names with it. Not to mention you had Monday Night Raw, right?
yeah.
That is always trending
Raw's
up
gonna always
until,
trend. That's right.
yeah, always trending up until like Tuesday. So
So we have like
that
hashtag
probably,
Bloodline or something like that going.
yeah, exactly. Like, you see like Stone Cold trending and you're like, what's, and they're talking about something from 96, like, I don't get it, but that's just the way Twitter works, right?
So Dylan Brooks, how we doing?
Wow, I poke bears. Bears, and now he's about to take it to the house after tomorrow night.
And
although they are a 4.5-point favorite, so we'll see what happens.
I mean, but it's just such a punk move by him, or a fake tough guy, because he had a lot to say after game 2's win, right? He was like, talk to me when he scores 40, or this isn't the same LeBron from Cleveland, yada, yada, yada. But you're guarding him, and he's gone off on you for 2 straight games, and he got the game-time layup last night to go into overtime, and then he had 22 points, 20 rebounds, and 5 assists. And it's like the 5th Laker in history to get a 20, 20, and 5 stat line. So I mean, it's kind of like one of those things where you poke bears, and this isn't the same one, but you guard him, and he, is in the Laker record books, right?
That's right.
And your
But
team's
Dylan Brooks had a
home.
whole 11 points.
Yeah.
And did he or did he not get a technical?
In this one?
That was a big prop bet, yeah.
I mean, it's a prop bet every time for him. Over and under is, is he going to get 2? So.
Right. But, I mean, what a punk move to punch LeBron in the midsection like that. Wow.
It was a great way for him to leave the game, just so he could say that, well, he didn't score all of his points on me.
I knocked him out.
I mean, that's really what it comes down to at this point.
Right.
And then you don't even have anything to say for the last 2 games. Like, he completely declined any post game.
It's one of those things, kind of like a fight in grade school, right? Where somebody clearly got beat up, and then the person that lost the fight's like, yeah, but they're hurting today. That's him. Yeah, he's hurting today. Yeah, I lost everything. I crapped the bed, but he's hurting today.
So, Rod, how's that aging? Your prediction that the Lakers would be in the Western Conference Finals?
I think that's looking pretty good right now, and it was based on the fact that if we go back a couple of episodes, I felt like the bracket set up nicely for them. You got Memphis now with Ja Morant hurting. You didn't have Steven Adams. You didn't have Jaren Jackson, and so I mean that was going to be a problem for Memphis at this point. You're having to depend on Dylan Brooks, which we see how that's going. And then you've got the Warriors and Kings on the other side, and I don't think either of those teams really match up, and the Lakers are getting a chance to get momentum because, like we said, they played together for what, like 10% of the season together. Mm-hmm. So they're getting momentum, they're growing. So I fully expect it to be the Lakers versus whoever comes out of the Nuggets and Suns, which should be a real fun series.
And Steph Curry needs to remember how many timeouts he has left, right?
Oh,
Very
the Chris Webber.
Wow, I could not believe that. They were up 5 points with 40 seconds to go. All he had to do was get the ball across the timeline, and they would have had to foul him. And instead, he calls a timeout. And then De'Aaron Fox drills that 3.
It was noble of Steve Kerr to try to cover for him and said that, I lost that timeout on that challenge, so that was my fault.
That's not what he was saying on the sideline.
No, I guarantee.
We don't have a timeout. That's been a great series, man. Wow. I'm looking forward to that game tomorrow night. Yeah.
I'm just throwing this out here, though, but if the Grizzlies somehow manage to come back from a 3-1 deficit, You can just expect Rig to be trending
Yeah.
on Twitter. It's just all over social media, because every time in the playoffs we get down to those series that somehow magically tie, out of tragedy or whatever. If this one's one of them, yeah, you're going to see it trending right here. It's going to be #rigged everywhere.
Now, if they somehow come back, I think the media should decline to interview Brooks.
That's gonna be straight up Richard Sherman being interviewed after Garden, Michael Crabtree right there interview. That's what that's gonna be. Like it's gonna just go ahead and get Aaron Andrews out there to hold the microphone while he just yells into it. Like that's how that interview is gonna go.
Don't try me.
What are you talking about?
Oh my. Yep, it's been some good playoff action. A lot of those games have been close, but I really do. I like your prediction, Rod. The Lakers, I mean, Austin Reeves, that kid is a stud.
Yes. I mean, he's become Austin Reeves during this series right here.
Right. AR-15 is what they call him.
Yep.
Shout out to old buddy we used to work with, Ron.
Yeah. Shout out to him, yeah. And Sheila, what's up?
Hey.
How's it going?
Yes.
Yeah. What's Ron's last name?
Ron Pitts.
Ron Pitts. Yeah.
Yeah,
he's a big Lakers
that's
fan.
your Steeler brethren there.
That is absolutely.
Yeah, I actually saw we almost had a heated debate going on. It was just minutes away from people joining the podcast. We had our local Chiefs fan in here, and he left right before we had our local Eagles fan come in.
Oh,
so
man.
They can't even coexist in the lives at the same time.
That's right.
Eagles and Chiefs fans are just done with each other now. They joined the podcast in coordination. All right, you get the first half, but I'm taking the last half.
Right.
Thought that was pretty funny because I was like gearing up.
I know.
I saw him joining. Who's here?
I was at least expecting it wasn't interference.
Right. Absolutely. So, big week last week, right?
Yeah.
Like it was
amazing.
So does anybody were you walking on cloud nine all week, Josh? I was.
Absolutely. No doubt. I mean, I know we haven't done a life segment in the last couple of weeks because there's been so much sports to talk about, but we could do a whole life segment about Showtime and just the experience that we had with him, both before we went live and then being on camera with him.
He was amazing.
Absolutely amazing.
Hey, you guys should talk about what happened after the day after.
The day after, yes. So if y'all listened to our show last week, Showtime asked me if I was going to the game because the Globetrotters were in town playing at, what is it called? The Hannah Center where Sanford plays.
Yes.
Last Wednesday night. And I said, my kids just saw them at the United Center a few years ago. And we've already been to Madison Square Garden to see the Knicks play and TD Garden to see the Celtics. And so, we've kind of spent quite a bit of money on basketball, so we're going to sit this one out. And he said, oh, man, I probably still have some connections. Let me see what I can do for you. And it was what time? About 11 a.m. Wednesday morning. He said, I got tickets for you waiting at will call. And my response to him was, okay, well, since you've done that so quickly, do you also have a police escort for me? Because my son has a soccer game down 280 and it won't end till 6:30. And his response was, there'll be a police escort, but it won't be taking you to a basketball game. You go too fast.
Yes, that was awesome.
It was pretty wild though, showing up, just showing up, giving your name, you get tickets or whatever. And for me, it was a surreal experience to have him on the podcast. Pregame we didn't video before like we normally do. Normally we video, you know, I like to video before to kind of warm myself up, you know, because like I'm pretty handsome and I'll just like to stare at myself for a few minutes right beforehand.
Shout out to androids. Shout out to androids.
Right. But our friend with the Android, you know, couldn't FaceTime. I'm sure we could have figured out a way, but we didn't. We just talked on the phone. And then it's like I get on and I see him, and it's like, holy crap, this is the dude from my childhood. You know, like, you know, I didn't like want to make him feel old or anything. But like I was 10 years old when he started with the Globetrotters. And so like I remember on Saturday mornings, you know, at 10 o'clock, Channel 13 here locally had, you know, a Globetrotter, like you went from cartoons to like the Globetrotters. And that was about the time my dad came home from work on Saturday morning. So me and him watched together, and like it was emotional going to see the Globetrotters because they're pulling the same stunts. You know, it's the same old Globetrotters. It's different dudes out there. You know, yeah, it's different than what it was when we grew up, but they're still pulling the same old stunts, and like, you know, couldn't help like, you know, God, man, I miss my dad so much. I wish he was here, you know, and everything with me, you know, like it was so emotional and so surreal the whole time. Like when he got on, like that's probably the quietest I've ever been on a show. Cause I was just like so enamored, like, oh my God, that dude from like the guy with the microphone from the Harlem Globetrotters is here. Like he's the guy I heard. He's like, I remember him, and it was just like, you know, it's seriously like, it's emotional. And, you know, I'm a guy, I'm not supposed to cry about things, but it's hard to like fight it and hold it back, you know, and it's like, oh my God, like it's coming full circle, you know, like as a kid to an adult now, you know, and as crazy as it is, it's this nonsense that got us there, right? You know, this podcast. So yeah, you know, it was a very I keep using the word surreal, but I don't know how else to describe it, you know.
There's no doubt, and I know that Paul Showtime Gaffney at some point will probably look at this one, and I just want to say, you know, thank you so much for just being an amazing impact, not only for what you've done with the Globetrotters, but what you've done for the community. And, you know, you have a worldwide footprint now of impacts, all the way from Nelson Mandela to, you know, all over the place. And so it was just, like you just said, it was just amazing how he got a chance to bless his podcast. And, you know, we just want to give a huge shout out. And like I said here, maybe I'll end up seeing him this weekend. So I can get not only a chance to thank him on this podcast for what he's done, but also in person.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, you know, obviously had a guest last week, took a break this week, but next week we will have none other than Malcolm McCary, former defensive lineman for the Auburn Tigers in their SEC championship year of 86, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah. So actually, Malcolm is a personal friend of all of ours. He worked with us at YP, and so he'll definitely be on the show with us next week. Drew won't be with us, so there'll just be three of us.
We'll pour one out in your memory.
What's that?
I said pour one out in Drew's memory next week, right?
Right, exactly. No doubt.
Right.
So
it's going to be so horrible. I'm going to be on vacation, guys. It's going to be so horrible.
So that'll be a great show for sure.
It's been a while since I've had a chance to chat with him, so you know, I am sad I'm missing that show, but you know, on the other side, that's just vacation, guys, vacation. I'll tell you about where I'm going after we get off. No, I won a trip. I don't know if I told you guys about it.
No, you won one, huh?
Yeah. So you know, believe it or not, I'm not just an internet personality. I do have a real job, right? So at my real job, they had a raffle, and my name was drawn for a trip to Cabo. So
you won a trip out of a raffle?
Yeah, out of a
that
raffle.
Is crazy.
Like, and it wasn't even like I had to give $1 or anything. It was just sign up, and they drew my name, and it was like, yeah, it was a weird experience, for sure, to say the least. Because the company I'm working for today was my 1-year anniversary, so I hadn't even been there a year.
Wow.
And, you know, I won that trip, so it was a
I'd say
pretty
they're treating you well.
yeah. It's a good way to make me not want to go anywhere, right?
Yeah.
They make sure you know, like, hey, you got to be here whenever you go on that trip. Like, they make sure to put that in the fine print, you know. You still got to be employed here whenever you take this trip. So, yeah, it's good stuff, though.
Yes.
Well, enjoy yourself, Mr. Tolbert.
Absolutely. We will see you in a couple weeks. So you want to sign us off since you won't be with us next week?
Take it off since I won't be here next week. Is that what you said? Still flirting with it. We're still flirting with the
All right. Well, I guess that's a no. So.
There's gonna be a day that I'm not the first one on here, and I'm just gonna pop in. I'm gonna be like, "Hey guys, sorry, I'm gonna be a little bit late. I'm gonna be late." Bert Kreischer, right? Yeah, exactly. That's what
Lori said. Take it off.
Absolutely. But yeah, there's gonna be a day that I just show up.
The day that the podcast goes viral, right?
Right.
There you go. There you go.
That's what's gonna happen. They're gonna be like, so there's these two guys that are running this podcast with this dude that's not wearing clothes for some reason. I don't know what it is. Like I said, we'll wait until I'm not the top screen and here first. It's gonna be when one of you guys are on the top screen. I'm just gonna show up like casually late and no shirt.
That just reminded me of that guy that I believe he had a shirt on, but it was one of the trivia questions that he was like analyzing or something. Remember, it was playing and he was talking over it, and we were like, "Who is this guy?" Y'all remember that? I think he had a shirt on, but yeah, he was he had an interesting look for sure as he was breaking down our trivia question.
God, yeah, no, I think was he in an A shirt? Like,
yeah, maybe.
Like because he was either shirtless or he didn't have a full shirt on. It was either a tank top or shirtless. I can't remember, but I do remember that. So just to fill everybody in on what we're talking about, like, we have no predictability on how viral anything we post on social media is going to be. It literally may only go to you. Like, you got to engage with our stuff. Like, we're begging you out there, please engage with our stuff, because we've had stuff literally get over 1 million views. I mean, right now on all of our socials, we're well over 4 million views, but it's because of like 5 videos. Everything else in the hundreds at best, right? There's YouTube videos we've posted that probably don't even get a dozen views. It's crazy. And so we had one post that just, I mean, it skyrocketed, right? And I believe it was it TikTok? I think it was TikTok.
Yep.
And this guy, you know, because with TikTok, you can like duet, you can, you can stitch it or whatever. And he stitched it and he's analyzing whatever the trivia question was. I don't even remember.
It was the Michael Jordan.
Was it with the numbers?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And he was talking about like how he played this and then did this with the dream team or whatever. And he's just, chilling out like, in a tank top or whatever. And it's not even, again, it's the A shirt, or, colloquially called the wife beater, if you will. But yeah, that's, and again, we have no clue as to how these things are going to go. I mean, we post, try to post weekly. Obviously we don't always, but yeah, you just never know how it's going to go.
Yeah. But we'll be here every week regardless, right? So
exactly.
We love doing this, and if we crack the algorithm again, then we'll do it. And if not, we'll be here every Tuesday at 8:00. So we appreciate y'all being here today. As I said, next week we'll have Malcolm McCary from the Auburn Tigers of the 80s. So I'm sure he'll have some unbelievable stories. I know he had some really good teammates that went on to play in the NFL, and he's a big time referee in the kids. He umpires as well, I believe. So I think he does AAU basketball, and he umpires baseball game. So it should be a really good show next week. But until then, find us on Apple Podcasts. 2 days after we'll be on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram,
Spotify.
Spotify. Yes, absolutely. Pretty much any social media platform except Clapper, right? We're not on Clapper, but still don't know what Clapper is. But we look forward to next week. Yeah, exactly. Next week at 8:00. And until then, y'all have a good week.